Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. It's me, Addy, again, and I hope you guys are doing alright. So today marks a historic occasion on my channel, and for a reason that I'm not particularly happy about. That reason being that for the first time on this channel, I'm actually going to be reviewing a bad game. Damn it, I wish it didn't have to come to this. But that's right, you guys. Recently over on Twitch, I had the displeasure, I guess you could say, of playing through the Callisto Protocol. A game that I was actually really excited for, especially considering that I had just regained an interest in the horror genre after having recently played through Resident Evil 7 and 8, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Going into this game, I was excited to finally experience on day one a brand new horror game in the AAA space by a developer other than Capcom themselves, since, as we know, they're really the only ones at the moment that are dominating the survival horror market. And on top of that, I'd seen a lot of hype around the Callisto Protocol leading up to its release, because people were saying that Dead Space, the game made by Striking Distance Studios, the same developers behind the Callisto Protocol here, was a masterpiece. And seeing everyone excited for a spiritual successor to that game, paired with the fact that I had a rekindled interest in the horror genre, made me very excited for Callisto Protocol as well. But sadly, you guys, this game did not live up to the hype whatsoever at all. And I'm going to be talking about why. Now, I'm someone who likes to see the best in things, and that's the main reason why I decided to power through this game from start to finish, even when it clearly started to become an average to bad game for me. I was really hoping throughout my playthrough that by the end, the game would have gotten much better, and that even though a majority of it wasn't great, the ending would nevertheless pull a clutch and make the rest of the experience palatable in hindsight. But unfortunately, that clutch moment never did come with this one. As I said earlier though, I am someone who likes to see the best in things, and because of that, I'm going to tell you guys what was good about Callisto Protocol first, since it wasn't all that bad, right? This game may not have been good, but it certainly wasn't a dumpster fire disaster by any means either. So to start with, I think the presentation of the game is phenomenal. It really is. It has beautiful visuals, and it really showcases the maximum potential of Unreal Engine 4. And the sound design and ambience are fantastic as well. Honestly, this game is at its best when it comes to building atmosphere and environmental detailing. The sci-fi elements and world building are solid here, and the foundations that create suspense leading up to what should be horrifying moments are all there and are all done very well. So I'd like to say kudos to the sound designers, the artists, the animators, and really everyone responsible for these facets of this video game. Additionally, I'd like to say that I found the weapons to be really cool. The guns were very satisfying to use, and I'm a big fan of the retro-futuristic aesthetic when it comes to guns, and this game leans heavily into that with its firearms, which largely consists of these large-scale pistols that reminded me of the gun design from Blade Runner 2049, which is actually my favorite movie of all time. And I liked this game's approach to UI with how a majority of its UI elements are diegetic and appear before you in-game. Your health indicator is a chip on your neck, and your battery that controls your telekinesis, which was a fun ability to use by the way, are a series of LEDs on your neck as well. And when it comes to inventory management, upgrading, and more, all of these things are done in real time as you play without needing to navigate away to another screen. There's also an upgrading system that works through you 3D printing your tools, which I thought was really neat. Like, this game honestly had some really cool stylistic choices that I liked, and there were just a lot of neat little aesthetic touches here. Sadly though, everything I just mentioned is where my praise for this game begins and ends. And now we segue into the glaring issues that begin in those moments that should have been horrifying after all the great suspense I was talking about earlier, but just weren't. They just didn't end up being horrifying. Even though in the Callisto Protocol you may be going through some environments that are genuinely creepy, the game does little to nothing to scare you effectively. And I had to question whether the vision of the developers behind this game was to even make it scary at all. Like, did they want this to be more of an action game or a horror game? I just couldn't tell by the end of it, and it seemed like this game just wasn't aware of its own identity. Through its over-reliance on the cheapest and cheesiest of jump scares in the book, such as enemies hopping around the corners and dropping down through vents in the ceiling, or hell, even spawning out of thin air seemingly, this game had me rolling my eyes more than anything. Or more accurately, it had me being a sarcastic douche many a times. Ah! I'm scared. Ah! Oh my god. Terrifying. Exposed tentacles will cause enemies to mutate. Oh my god, what the hell? Ah! I'm so scared. Help. Oh god. And yeah, while the enemies themselves look pretty damn freaky, and while there is some grotesquely awesome body horror in this game that involves so many unique death animations, if I walk through that, will I die? Yeah, I guess so. Unfortunately, none of those things even once come close to being scary. And I'll actually tell you exactly why that is. And it's because this game has you MMA fighting the freakiest of abominations, which should have you turning the other way and running for your life, but instead force you to fight them with dodges and kicks and punches and whacks to the noggin with this baton as if you're cage fighting or something. Like, the tone of this game is really weird as a result of its gameplay. And again, it makes me question, did the developers want this to be the case? Did they want this to be a more action gaming experience over a more horrifying one? I couldn't tell. But okay, right, okay. I'll admit this gameplay does sound really cool on paper, right? 1v1ing zombies? Sign me the hell up, is what you might be saying. But you guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but in execution, all of this is pathetic. It just doesn't even work half the time. This game is so unbelievably janky and clunky and just frustrating to play overall. Half the time your dodges don't even register, which leads to you getting two-shotted on not even the hardest difficulty. And that's the other thing, the difficulty. If I honestly had to talk about the worst aspect of this game, it would be the difficulty spikes. This game is ludicrously overtuned, and it always feels like you're playing this game 2 difficulties higher than the one that you're currently on. I started the game on normal difficulty, and within 2 hours, I had to change it to easy mode. And this isn't even a matter of me sucking or needing to get good or not having the patience. Quite the contrary, actually. In truth, I'm someone who loves a good challenge in games, and I'm never one to back down and reduce the difficulty, because I realize that my deaths are a result of my own shortcomings, and that I need to learn from my mistakes to finally beat the challenges that lie before me. But this game, it doesn't have challenges. It is not challenging. It's frustrating. There's a big difference. This game always feels like it's working against you due to its downright unreasonable gameplay design. I mean, I don't even know how they thought releasing this game in the state that it's in was by any means okay. So the combat goes something like this. You run into an enemy, and you're locked into that fight. Sure, you can move around a little, but good luck escaping to go stock up on ammo or HP if you're fucked, because these zombies run at you a mile a second, and you run at a mile a year. So there's basically no escaping these fights with your sluggish ass. And during the fight itself, you're basically holding left and right on your controller to dodge attacks, while periodically getting a hit or two in with your weapons. And that's basically it. Rinse and repeat until your enemy dies or you die, which is significantly more likely to happen since these guys hit like a truck and take decades to actually die themselves, even after being decapitated. Like, I swear to God, there were so many times where I was fighting headless chickens in this game that took 10 years to actually die even after losing their heads. And on top of this, they completely ignore your dodges half the time and break through with their hits on you anyway. And if you do somehow manage to spend every ounce of your energy to beat just one zombie, right, just one, well, GG's, because the entire time there were 4 or 5 other zombies that were attacking you, and chances are you're already dead because of them. Callisto Protocol is a game that has clearly been designed for 1v1 combat against singular enemies, but for whatever reason goes against its own gameplay philosophy entirely by throwing hordes of enemies at you at once. And it's damn near mechanically and physically impossible to take them all on at the same time. Did you dodge one enemy? Well, great, you just dodged into another asshole off camera ready to one-shot you. Oh, did you somehow manage to inhumanly dodge that guy as well? Well, great, something just shot a projectile at your ass from far away, again off camera. Like, my god, the camera sucks in this game. And yeah, now you're dead. The speed, power, and density at which enemies come at you in this game is unnecessarily brutal, and again, frustrating. Even unpredictable. The moment I turned Callisto Protocol to easy mode was after dozens and dozens of attempts against 2 basic enemies at the beginning of the game who were disgustingly overpowered. By some miracle, I finally managed to beat these 2 guys, and then out of nowhere, a 3rd guy who I hadn't seen on any of my prior attempts popped out of the screen and ripped me to shreds. So now, on top of the game being frustrating to play, it's also just downright unpredictable. And again, I have no problems with enemies being tough. I have no problems the game being challenging. But when you've selected normal difficulty and a fight against 2 basic enemies is taking you over half an hour to beat, and things are frustrating instead of challenging, then there's a big problem. Playing this game on easy mode after all this chaos had transpired made for a relatively better experience. Until the ending, that is, which I'll touch on in a little bit. But I thought that after setting the game to easy mode, there would finally be things to look forward to beyond these issues in Callisto Protocol. But sadly, there weren't, you guys. I was hoping that at least the story would be the silver lining here, but not even that was capable of holding my interest at all. The writing in this game is far from compelling, and it did little to make me care about any of its characters or the narrative from start to finish. And these characters aren't even likable. There are times when they say and do downright baffling things that go against what was seemingly established about them earlier.
Please, this is no time for false heroics. Leave the sample and walk away. There's an escape pod up there to take you back to the life you once had. We can both have everything we...
I just have to pause it right here because I even need to take a walk. This is drivel. Like, this dude tried to kill us near the start of the game, being like, I got a trip for you straight back to hell. You guys can get this shit out of here. You made it this far. Goodbye, you guys. And now at the end of the game, after all this shit, he's like, hey, I got a shuttle for you. Go back home. You know, chill, vibe. I got a lemonade maker in that little shuttle too. You know, doing a couple extra cookies as well. Where was that in the beginning? And worst of all is the fact that this game is just outright unfinished. I won't spoil what happens in the end, but the final scene of this game makes it clear as day through this campy cliffhanger ending that you've only experienced just a small slice of this subpar story. And I'd imagine that the rest of it will be doled out through its unabashed and bewildering $40 season pass, which I cannot even conceive of buying on top of this $90 game, which I would have preferred to pay so much less for. After setting the game to easy mode, I played for a good little bit until the game's midway point. And it was here that I realized something. Oh god, man, this game is horribly dull. It's horribly dull. It's so dull. It's so dull. It's so dull. I can tell you guys that this was the precise moment at which this game convinced me that it would have nothing exciting in store for me. And this was the point at which I realized just how repetitive this game had been, and that between this moment and until the very end, nothing was going to change. If there's anything I wish I was wrong about predicting, it's this right here, because turns out I wasn't wrong. The point in this game I'm talking about comes right after you have to fight the exact same enemies the exact same way for 2 levels in a row. And these enemies are a blind variant of the zombies you've been fighting so far. So you basically have to sneak past them or stealth kill them very, very slowly to proceed. And at first I thought this was cool. I thought, hey, finally the tension is being heightened and things might get genuinely scary. And if these things catch me, I'm probably going to be instant dinner. And through music and ambiance, the game is making me feel genuinely anxious. So this is going to get horrifying, right? Wrong. The moment one of these guys caught me, it was just like every single other fight in this game. Janky left and right dodging, and occasional clobbering until either you or one of these fiends lay dead. The only difference here was that now this process was going to be infinitely slower since A, you're encouraged to sluggishly sneak past these guys, and B, these guys hit like a truck in comparison to the previous enemies and come in great numbers, meaning you're going to die a lot since, again, the game is designed for one-on-one combat, but for whatever reason, pits you against multiple foes at once all the time. And it just saddens me, man. That just makes me sad because every enemy in this game looks so unique and awesome. The creature designs are great, but ultimately they're all reskins of the same exact enemy you've been fighting since the start of the game. It's just rinsing and repeating this tedious, frustrating gameplay until the very end, where things do admittedly get spiced up, but god damn it, not in a good way. The only new thing that this game does at the end is what it should have been doing throughout. it finally fucking presents you with a boss fight. And spoilers to this part in case you don't want to see the footage of the boss or anything like that. But this is one of the worst bosses I have ever fought in a video game. Somehow they decided it was a good decision to make a hulking tank of a total bullet sponge that can one-hit KO you with the speed of the fucking Flash with certain unblockable and undodgeable attacks on, again, easy mode. And paired with this complete asshole is the most annoying enemy type in the entire game that comes at you in large numbers. Those being these speedy crawlers that explode the moment they get near you, which again, 1 or 2 shots you on the easiest difficulty. And you have no time to swap to weapons if you're out of ammo, nor do you have any time to turn around and run to pick up health or ammo, or just in general do anything other than stay soft locked onto this guy and embrace your inevitable demise. During which there are so many weirdly janky and buggy death animations, which I got so tired of seeing. Yeah, I'm not even going to ask what he did there. This boss fight left such a bad taste in my mouth that it convinced me to give the game a lower score than the one I originally wanted to at the end of this video. That's how awful this was. Damn, man, this game is just, it was incredibly disappointing. And it was so hard for me to even try and get any enjoyment out of it. Not only is the game bogged down by janky combat and frustrating repetitive enemies, but it also has its fair share of bugs and technical hiccups, even though I wasn't even playing on the PC version, which I heard was horribly optimized at launch. I played this game on the PS5, and even then I crashed once. Right. And there were also more than a few occasions where enemies were pushing me through walls into other parts of the game I wasn't supposed to reach yet, and death animations that weren't playing correctly. But worst of all, there was one time that my AI companion was missing entirely during a segment where she was meant to open a door, and I spent a good half an hour walking in circles trying to figure out what the hell to do before I actually threw in the towel. I had to, and looked up just what the hell was going on, only to find out that my game was bugged. Luckily, I was able to get her to spawn in after reloading a checkpoint, however, and I then proceeded as normal in this otherwise abnormal experience. It's just a shame, man, because beneath it all is a good game somewhere. There's a good game buried beneath everything here somewhere, but one that unfortunately just never got the chance to shine. Callisto Protocol had so much potential, and due to all the things I liked about the game that I mentioned earlier, it had a solid foundation going for it. But all that led up to a whimper as opposed to a roar. If only the gameplay direction was better with a lot more polish alongside a compelling story, we could have had something amazing here. So yeah, I guess it's time now to give this game the final score, right? So what is the final score that Callisto Protocol gets from me? To have a little bit of fun here, I'm just gonna let this clip play out for you. Like the geometry on the walls here. Yeah, it's like I said, I think the environmental design is great, right? Very pretty game, very nice aesthetics. I'm giving Callisto Protocol a 5 out of 10. The only reason it doesn't get a 4 for me is because I like the geometry on the walls in the final level. That's basically a leaked. That's my script leaked for my review video. And then, not long after this clip, came the final boss fight. And as a result of that, paired with all the game's other issues and its terrible ending, the final score that Callisto Protocol gets from me is a 4 out of 10. The lowest score I have ever given a game on this channel. And it hurts me to give this game that score, right? It hurts me to have said a lot of the shit I did about this game in today's review, because I really wanted to like this game, you guys. I did. But in the end, it missed the mark for me completely. And I wish I could sit here saying that I had the same experience playing this game as the lads who were a bit more generous with it and gave this one 6s and 7s out of 10, but I can't. I just can't, right? I have to be honest here. The visuals, sound design, ambience, and even the cinematics were excellent, as I said earlier, and they could have elevated this game to a much higher rating from me had they been paired with a game that was actually fun to play. So this is definitely a game you should sleep on in my book, especially if you're a horror nut looking for a game to scare you. And if you really do want to play this game, right, there's nothing wrong with that. I do firmly believe that even after this review, you guys should still definitely check it out for yourselves if you would like to. Then in that case, I would definitely say wait for a sale on this one, right? It does not warrant the full game price tag, at least from where I'm sitting. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this review today, and I really appreciate your support as always. And hey, I hope I didn't exude any bad energy here. My intention here isn't to be toxic, right? It's not. It's to rather give you guys my honest thoughts and opinions on this game. And you can absolutely feel free to disagree with anything I said in this video, right? I invite discourse, I invite other opinions, and I love to hear them in the comments. So feel free to drop them below. But yeah, after my 10 out of 10 Ragnarok review, I suppose the universe had to balance the scale somehow with the review of a bad game here with Callisto Protocol, which again was a first for my channel and one that was kind of fun to do, I'll admit. But anywho's guys, stay happy, stay healthy, stay positive, and as always, keep on keeping on.